Premature birth resulted in severe hemorrhage. Ethan received a telephone call and exited the operating room without hesitation. I sent him a message: the child could not be saved. Suspecting jealousy, he called me, stating, "Cease this nonsense." I distinctly saw the infant's head before departing. As I began to clarify, a voice from the other end of the call uttered "Daddy," to which Ethan responded with affection. Noticing my silence, he remarked casually, "Do not misconstrue. It is Lily's son, less than a year old, unable to fully recognize people. Incidentally, you should cease working henceforth, resign, and focus on raising 2 children at home, as tending to one is equivalent to tending to 2. Infuriated yet amused, I retorted, "Ethan, let us divorce," and promptly terminated the call. Amidst blurred vision, Ryan approached me slowly, carrying a familiar thermos, and said, "Why weep? Upon divorcing, the next will be more agreeable." Frowning, I inquired, "What do you mean?" He poured a bowl of thick, white fish soup from the thermos, handed it to me, and then stated, "Teacher Stella, I am younger and wealthier than he, might you consider me?" Upon concluding his words, a trace of nervousness flickered in his clear black eyes. I sampled the fish soup, recognizing its familiar taste, and remarked, "Thus, the nutritious soup on my desk was from you." He blushed slightly, adding emphatically, "Prepared by my own hands." Reflecting that he, a president recently assuming control of the family enterprise and presumably overwhelmed with duties, still found time daily to cook, it would be disingenuous to claim I was unmoved. Exhausted from constantly orbiting others, I now desired to be the one cherished. Taking a deep breath, I stated, "Matters of the future shall be addressed later." Seeing I left possibilities open, he exhaled deeply and smiled with delight. Ryan retrieved the infant's remains from the hospital, placed the ashes in a consecrated urn, and engaged a monk to recite sutras for its transcendence. A month elapsed swiftly once all arrangements were completed. During this period, Ethan cited assisting Lily with her divorce litigation as a reason for neither answering calls nor responding to messages. I genuinely pondered what aid a medical professor could offer in such matters. Due to signs of premature labor, I refrained from mobility and requested he deliver a lecture in a neighboring city on my behalf while I covered his classes, a request he declined without hesitation. He retorted, "What were you doing earlier? Knowing full well you were nearing delivery, you still agreed to go, as if unacquainted with money. Moreover, can you even comprehend the courses I teach?" He scorned tasks within his capacity yet persisted with those beyond his reach. Now that his cherished first love sought divorce, he likely wished for my voluntary departure. Having resolved to divorce, I found no justification to remain in the residence he purchased prior to our marriage. Upon opening the door, the jovial chatter in the living room ceased abruptly. I proceeded directly to my bedroom to gather my belongings, only for my wrist to be firmly seized. "Lily is greeting you." This marked my first encounter with Lily in person. Her face resembled a pure lotus, adorned with an elegant smile. I offered her a slight nod. Yet Ethan was not inclined to relent. "Where is the child? Why are you alone?" I regarded him for a few seconds before calmly stating, "As I informed you, it could not be saved." He paused briefly, released my wrist, and turned to make a call. I opened the bedroom door, and the disarray before me caused a sudden pang in my chest. Ethan and I had always maintained separate sleeping quarters, yet they had engaged in illicit acts in my room, perhaps deeming it more exhilarating. The bedside table bore conspicuous disposable items and used tissues. I directed an incredulous gaze toward Ethan. Having just ended his call, he furrowed his brows, his eyes betraying a hint of ire. "Unable even to preserve a child, consider the substantial funds you have squandered. The cost of a single in vitro fertilization procedure is considerable, particularly having undergone it 5 times. Pointing toward the bedside table, I ground my teeth and demanded, "Explain first, did you not claim erectile dysfunction? What are those items?" To preserve his fidelity to his first love, he falsely asserted erectile dysfunction, subjecting me needlessly to the ordeal of repeated ovulation induction. Committing such base acts in my room, do you not find it distasteful? A flicker of panic crossed Ethan's eyes as he attempted to mask his guilt with volume. Refrain from baseless accusations. I was inebriated last night and recall nothing of my actions. Closing my eyes, I felt utterly depleted. The Civil Affairs Bureau remains open, let us proceed with the divorce. Ethan maintained a stern silence. Abruptly, the tranquil atmosphere was shattered by a child's cry. Ethan's demeanor shifted to immediate concern. He hastened over in a few strides, adeptly lifting the child and soothing it gently. Daddy is here, do not cry, Mommy will feed you milk shortly. Each egg retrieval evoked visions of Ethan tenderly cradling a child, compelling me to persevere through near suffocating pain. Countless imaginings now unfolded vividly before me. Yet, the life I nurtured, bound by the umbilical cord, ascended to heaven without glimpsing this world, while her father fixated on wasted funds and another's offspring. Observing the immobile Lily, Ethan prompted, "Andy is hungry." Lily, touching her bodice with a flushed face, glanced at me and murmured softly, "Last night, you." Ethan appeared to recollect something, an awkward expression surfacing as he gazed deeply at her. Uninterested in their exchanged glances, I turned to resume packing my belongings. Lily halted me. "Miss Stella. I have heard that pregnant women may still produce milk post-miscarriage, could you assist?" I declined outright, "I have none, I cannot assist you." Seemingly unprepared for my refusal, she hesitated. "Do you perhaps misunderstand that I intend to wrest Ethan from you? Please do not overthink, Ethan was merely intoxicated last night and mistook me for you. Beyond that, our relationship is unblemished. Though adults may err, the child is innocent, you must not displace your anger." I interjected, "I have stated I cannot assist you, not that I am unwilling." Ethan handed the child to Lily and advanced toward me, abruptly pulling my collar to my shoulder. "What are you doing?" I instinctively slapped him. He pressed his tongue against his cheek, his jaw tightening. "The child is deceased, retaining it is futile." Raising my head, I regarded him coldly. His flippant remark, "The child is dead," likened it to a mere stray animal. Clenching my teeth, I struck his other cheek. The air grew taut as we faced each other with palpable tension. Suddenly, Lily's voice intervened. "Very well, I shall prepare formula instead, though the little one will suffer, as formula induces diarrhea." As she spoke, her eyes reddened, tears falling steadily, yet she gazed at me imploringly. Ethan seized the child and thrust it into my arms, then propelled me into the room, swiftly locking the door from outside. Lily pounded the door with greater fury than I, her voice quivering uncontrollably. "Ethan, how can you entrust Andy to her? Having just lost her child, what if she vents her anger on him?" Instantly, Ethan's voice penetrated the door. "Stella, I caution you to feed him properly. Should I detect any subterfuge, expect legal consequences." Amused yet incensed, I placed the boy on the bed and dialed 911. "Hello, I wish to report that my husband has confined me within this room, restricting my freedom. The address is..." The door flung open, and Ethan snatched my phone, hurling it to the floor. Lily hastened to the bedside. Abruptly, the child's cries sharpened, suggestive more of pain than hunger. Lily glared at me, her eyes bloodshot. "Miss Stella, I understand your distress over your child's loss, but you cannot take it out on mine." I stood perplexed. She exposed the child's plump arm, revealing 4 vivid red scratches. Ethan, enraged to the point of visible neck veins, seized my throat. "I gravely misjudged you. I had intended for you to resign and assist with childcare at home, yet I never anticipated such malice. You have wholly inherited your parents' defective traits. An abandoned child remains so, innately callous. No wonder multiple IVF attempts failed. Divine Providence deems you unfit for motherhood. You ought to remain solitary until death." Befitting a companion of 5 years, each word pierced deeply. With eyes stinging unbearably, I gripped my palm fiercely, the final vestige of attachment to Ethan dissipating like dust. "On the first anniversary of our relationship," he proposed. After much deliberation, I disclosed my upbringing in an orphanage. Many, upon learning of my origins, presume me psychologically defective, incapable of intimate bonds, thus let us defer marriage discussions. He embraced me with compassion. You are not your parents. The Stella I know, though riddled with life's wounds, transforms those scars into stars, gently illuminating those around her. Throughout 5 years of marriage, I accustomed myself to self-suppression, accommodating his needs, dreading his disappointment. Yet all my efforts were wholly nullified by unfounded accusations. If he could not forget his first love, why entangle me? I scoffed through clenched teeth. The room has surveillance. If you distrust my words, surely you trust the footage. As I spoke, the sobbing nearby subsided. Lily shrieked, "Are you suggesting I orchestrated this? What mother would willingly harm her own child?" The moment Ethan released his grip, I collapsed to the floor, gasping heavily. Enough with the pretense, I scarcely exerted full force. After several coughs, my throat eased. I too wish to understand why. Perhaps Miss Lily finds sowing discord between us amusing. Miss Lily may rest assured, if you desire Ethan, take him. I harbor no objections. However, an apology for your baseless defamation is not an excessive request. I feigned swiping on my phone, accessing a video interface. As I prepared to hand it to Lily, Ethan intercepted it. He scrutinized the screen, perplexed, and was about to speak when Lily seized the phone. Without glancing at it, she stomped it beneath her foot until it shattered, large tears cascading from her eyes. "Ethan, do you too distrust me?" Ethan observed her silently for a prolonged moment, sighed, and drew her into an embrace. "I believe you. Prepare formula for Andy, I must speak with her." Though reluctant, Lily departed with the child. A trace of remorse lingered in Ethan's eyes. Her former husband accrued debts with usurers, individuals capable of any act for repayment. I cannot stand by as they, a widow and orphan, fall into their grasp. You must also extend her some understanding. Recently divorced and bearing a child, she inherently lacks security. Your cold reception upon return fueled her fear of expulsion, prompting this ploy. Tomorrow, prepare her favored dish. Buddha jumps over the wall, as a gesture of reconciliation. I instantly lost the vigor to contend, stating calmly, "The Civil Affairs Bureau has not yet closed, we can still obtain the certificate today." He frowned, responding with patience, "Do you take issue with last night? It was merely an accident. If you insist on dwelling on it, I am powerless." I retrieved our marriage certificate and identification from the drawer. "Let us go." He gripped my wrist tightly, his dark eyes seemingly brewing a tempest. "You, nearing 30, still behave so petulantly? I remind you, a divorced woman becomes utterly second-hand, a lifelong indelible stain." Suddenly, the sound of shattering glass resounded. Outside, Lily, pallid and despairing, gazed at Ethan. I remarked faintly, "Miss Lily need not fret, last night's events indicate Ethan lacks any aversion to impurity." Lily, as though gravely insulted, fled through the door. Ethan pursued her a few steps instinctively but halted abruptly upon hearing my derisive laugh. He turned to me. "What amuses you? Even divorced, Lily has my support, whereas you, parentless, have nowhere to turn post-divorce. Rather than indulging in sentimentality, you should condition your body to utilize the remaining embryos." Gazing at the clothes strewn across the floor, I lost all inclination to pack. Ultimately, I took only essential documents and descended the stairs. The following day, I submitted my application for doctoral studies abroad at the school. My master's degree posed a significant impediment to achieving a professional title. While packing office supplies, several younger teachers cast sympathetic glances my way. Teacher Wendy, the youngest and least restrained, grasped my arm indignantly. "Teacher Stella, resigning would merely cede your position to that backdoor entrant. That individual holds merely a third-tier degree, entering via Professor Ethan's connections, and even utilized your data to join a key project team directly. Everyone knows those experimental data resulted from your late-night efforts while pregnant. How can Professor Ethan fail to separate personal and professional matters?" Glancing at the journal article, I confirmed the data used was indeed the final version I sent Ethan. It dawned on me that his urging me to resign was premeditated. As I prepared to clarify that I was merely applying for a doctorate, not resigning, the office door was knocked. Ethan entered, one hand carrying gift bags, the other holding lilies, showing no intent to conceal their association. Upon entry, he spotted me, paused for a second, then offered a perfunctory nod as usual, akin to a mere colleague. In 5 years of marriage, none knew we were spouses. Lily has inconvenienced everyone recently. These modest gifts are offered, please accept them graciously. When had this typically aloof man ever humbled himself so? Lily bore a decorous smile, as if meeting me anew. Noticing me stuffing documents into my satchel, a peculiar glint crossed her eyes. You are teacher Stella, I presume? Unaware of your visit today, I prepared nothing for you, my apologies. However, having resigned, you lack authorization to remove these files, correct? Seeing my silence, she extended a hand to block my bag, her ostentatious pigeon-egg diamond ring dazzlingly obtrusive. Excuse me, I stated, passing her without a sideways glance. Barely reaching the second floor, I was forcefully pulled back. Ethan, visibly irate, demanded, "What was your demeanor toward Lily just now? New to this environment, her work is already challenging, yet you humiliated her. What will our colleagues think?" I sneered audibly. Refraining from publicly exposing that even her third-tier degree was purchased demonstrates ample magnanimity. Leveraging my achievements to pave the way for your former lover, how saintly of you. Ethan trembled with rage, his lips quivering. What second-rate entity are you? You know full well. Had I not pitted you and breached professional ethics to perjure on your behalf, do you think the school would have retained you? I stood stunned. In the year of my master's graduation, shortly after commencing employment, a peer accused me of plagiarizing his experimental data. His influential background deterred any opposition. Lacking power or influence, though some believed me, all remained neutral for self-preservation. Ethan alone stood resolutely by my side. Subsequently, for reasons unknown, that individual was dismissed the next day. I long attributed the resolution to Ethan's testimony, though upon reflection, he was merely a lecturer then, wielding limited authority. Thus, you never believed me from the outset? A flicker of doubt surfaced in Ethan's eyes. Suddenly, the rapid clatter of high heels echoed nearby. Catching a figure in my peripheral vision, a sharp slap landed on my cheek. Lily, eyes blazing with fury, her voice laden with wrath, confronted me. Stella, what precisely did you tell them? They all claim I plagiarized your data. Where is your evidence? I now reasonably suspect you are the thief crying thief. Her gaze fixed on the satchel over my shoulder. Hand me the bag. Ethan, perhaps fearing it contained original data, roughly pinned me against the wall to facilitate Lily's inspection. She seized the bag and inverted it. I cried out involuntarily, "No." A series of clangs and cracks ensued as my daughter's urn, along with documents, fell from the bag's bottom, rolling down the stairs, with faint ashes rising. I clutched the urn tightly. The man spoke with disdain. Merely ashes worthy of such distress? I murmured, bewildered, these are our daughter's ashes, why are you so indifferent? Ethan scoffed. The person is dead, what purpose does this discussion serve? The pressing matter is accompanying me to the office to exonerate Lily. She will assume your role henceforth, do not complicate her position. Since you have resigned, return home to recuperate, lest you squander the funds I invested. We struggled up to the second floor. My foot slipped, and though Ethan instinctively reached for me, Lily restrained him. My hand grasped only air. My heart sank abruptly. A pair of strong hands steadied my lower back, enabling me to stand upright. I delivered a slap across the woman's face. Lily raised a hand, only for the man behind me to seize her wrist. Ryan, his expression grim, addressed someone behind me. Principal Lee, with the Zhou family donating billions annually to the school, is this the caliber you recruit? Principal Lee, wiping sweat from his brow, apologized profusely. I shall immediately instruct the administrative department to terminate her employment. Lily softly proposed, Stella has voluntarily resigned, yet the school could issue a notice publicizing her data plagiarism, serving as a caution to other institutions. Ryan remained silent, contemplative, as if weighing the proposal's viability. Ethan, initially uncertain of Ryan's stance, relaxed upon observing this. Principal Lee, you are aware Stella and I are married, yet I never anticipated such underhanded behavior from her. I do not favor nepotism, handle her as you see fit. I shall not object. Ryan sneered, then directed Principal Lee, who was frantically signaling Ethan, proceed as she suggested. A gleam of triumph flashed in Lily's eyes. Yet when Principal Lee announced her name over the phone, a shrill cry erupted in the narrow stairwell. Principal Lee, have you mistaken the person? Lily, utterly panicked, looked pleadingly at Ethan. Ethan's complexion darkened. I personally recruited teacher Stella. I vouch entirely for her integrity. She would never commit such acts. There must be a misunderstanding. I sneered coldly. Whether a misunderstanding, investigation will reveal. Once bitten, twice shy. After the lesson 5 years prior, I learned to maintain operational records. Professor Ethan, the experimental data I provided was inaccurate. I identified errors during postpartum review and sent you numerous messages, presuming you were aware. Ethan frowned. You sent me messages? Lily stammered. I inadvertently deleted them and dared not inform you. Such a feeble excuse, yet Ethan accepted it as truth. He regarded me with dissatisfaction. For something so critical, you should have called me. I had, but I refrained from arguing. Ethan invariably found excuses for Lily regardless. Nonetheless, Ethan finally acknowledged the data's origin. Realizing this, his face alternated between pallor and flush. He yanked Lily's arm, thrusting her before me. Offer teacher Stella a sincere apology and assure no recurrence, and this matter concludes. Lily's face reddened, yet her tone remained defiant. I refuse to confess to deeds I did not commit. Other colleagues can corroborate. As she finished, several teachers, previously observing silently nearby, emerged, gift bags in hand. Lily promptly adopted a victor's stance. Teacher Wendy produced a thick stack of cash, presenting it to Lily and Ethan with righteous indignation. The office ethos must not be tainted by your ilk. Reclaim this money. Once illicit dealings were exposed, Principal Lee, despite his long-standing ties with Ethan's parents, could no longer shield him. Professor Ethan, you are suspended for 1 year. Teacher Stella, depart our school immediately. Both faces blanched instantly. Ryan assisted in retrieving the scattered documents. Noticing the cracked urn, he consoled, fortunately, the contents remain intact, yet the deceased must ultimately find peace. Carrying it introduces too many variables, allow me to arrange it. Before I could respond, Ethan interjected, what is your relationship? By what right do you handle my daughter's ashes? Observing his accusatory demeanor, I stated calmly, let us divorce. His eyes darted between us incessantly, and he sneered. No wonder you abruptly proposed divorce yesterday. You've secured a replacement. Expecting me to facilitate you is unthinkable. Harlot. Upon his words, Ryan struck him with a fist. Silence yourself if you cannot speak properly. Ethan wiped blood from his mouth, raising his fist to retaliate. I spoke calmly, Ethan, yesterday I underwent a domestic violence injury assessment at the hospital. He looked at me incredulously. Removing my scarf, I revealed a ring of purple bruises and 5 stark nail marks. Ryan, eyes reddened with fury, delivered another punch. Ethan stumbled back several steps. Lily swiftly supported him, glaring at me with anger. What proof have you? I was present yesterday and witnessed nothing. Ignoring her, I addressed Ethan. The physician extracted DNA from residual skin tissue, the most compelling evidence. I seek no compensation, only your consent to divorce. Otherwise, presenting this in court renders divorce inevitable, sooner or later. Teacher Wendy raised her hand silently. I can further provide evidence of Professor Ethan's infidelity. Exiting the Civil Affairs Bureau, Ethan ceased all pretense, encircling Lily's waist and taunting me. Do you believe a wealthy man like him genuinely fancies you? He merely craves the novelty of a married woman. Believe it or not, once divorced, he will abandon you instantly. Do not ensnare yourself. I smiled indifferently. Seated in Ryan's vehicle, I could not suppress my curiosity. Have you known me for long? 5 years ago, I was poised to depart with my belongings, yet was informed another colleague was dismissed instead. I presumed Ethan had intervened on my behalf, though he lacked significant influence then, and principally joined the school only 2 years prior. Today, I learned the Zhou family donates annually. Perhaps he had encountered me at school previously? Ryan smiled wryly. Indeed, you do not recall me. I am Fatty. A short, stout figure instantly surfaced in my mind. I regarded him in astonishment. You. It transpired that Ryan, at age 7, suffered a severe illness requiring substantial hormone medication, resulting in physical distortion and frequent peer mockery. His parents, preoccupied with business, neglected his psychological needs, prompting him to contemplate running away. That rainy day, he lost his way, eventually arriving at my orphanage after several detours. That was my first sight of you severely bullied, yet you insisted the director send you to school. Each return from school bore fresh scars on your face, yet you persevered. In contrast, I succumbed readily to mere taunts. I recalled that after Ryan was retrieved, the boys tormenting me were sent to juvenile detention, and the school welcomed a cohort of highly educated, quality young teachers. When I finally slimmed down and sought you, I learned you were with Ethan. Regret suffused his face. Had I been braver, arriving at your side sooner? I interrupted, smiling. Life offers no ifs, only consequences and outcomes. We must all account for our choices. Even had Ryan sought me then, my mental state would have precluded a relationship with someone so young. While I now exclude no possibilities, I will not pause for anyone. Upon hearing of my intent to pursue a doctorate abroad, Ryan was momentarily taken aback. Learning I aimed for Country B, he promptly called his father, expressing a desire to conduct in-depth global market research at the B Country branch. Individuals differ markedly. I only recall that when I first broached the subject years ago, Ethan cut me off, declaring for the first time his wish for a child. Yet I remained perplexed if the child was merely a means to bind me, why his utter indifference to our daughter's death? Clarity emerged only after I completed my IELTS and visited Ethan's mother. Ethan's mother was amiable. Regrettably, 3 years prior, she entered a nursing home due to Alzheimer's. Sensing my farewell, the elderly woman clung to my hand. From her fragmented speech, I finally discerned the key term, azoospermia. I abruptly recalled a recent hospital visit for a checkup, where Lily, smugly caressing her slightly swollen abdomen, announced her pregnancy, feigning a request that I not inform Ethan to surprise him. Evidently, she herself was uncertain of the child's paternity. On the day the divorce cooling-off period concluded, Ethan, seeing me arrive alone, offered a pitying smile. Glancing at Lily nestled beside him, I returned a more radiant one. Ethan retracted his smile, musing briefly, regret now, and it is not too late. Lily's expression stiffened. But our wedding invitations have already been dispatched. Ignoring her, Ethan fixed his gaze on me, awaiting my response. Regret? My sole regret is not leaving sooner. Emerging from the Civil Affairs Bureau, Lily visibly relaxed. Ethan strode toward the parking area. Lily lingered, extracting a wedding invitation from her bag and pressing it into my hand. Noting the date tomorrow, I questioned the haste. It is somewhat rushed, but you understand a swollen belly ill suits a wedding gown. Regardless, I must thank you for stepping aside, fulfilling Ethan and me, otherwise, my child would bear illegitimacy. You harbor no lingering attachment to Ethan, thus dare not attend, correct? Lily's attempt at provocation was cut short by a horn's blare. Stella, board the car, we risk missing the flight. I returned the invitation. Apologies, I am genuinely unavailable. As I entered the vehicle, Ethan emerged abruptly, blocking the door. His gaze locked onto Ryan, a sudden smile emerging. Ryan, Stella, and I were once wed, I cannot idly watch her be toyed with by you. Can you pledge her marriage? She is no longer young and divorced, though you may not mind. Will your parents consent? Or do you intend to amuse yourself until she ages, then dismiss her with money? His knuckles whitened on the steering wheel. Abruptly, Ryan sneered. Should Stella grant me the title of husband, I would rejoice even in dreams. If you truly care for her, step back and do not impede our affairs. His words concluded, the car sped off before Ethan could react. In the rearview mirror, he stumbled back awkwardly, nearly falling. I chuckled aloud. Ryan pursed his lips, stating earnestly, my parents know I reconnected with them due to you, eager to venerate you. He reiterated, they are not antiquated. I remained silent, gazing out the window with a gentle smile. Arriving in Country B and adjusting to the time difference, I checked my phone post-interview, finding it inundated with messages from Ethan's sister, Emily. You and my brother divorced? I assumed it was your wedding, otherwise, I would not have come. Lily is utterly shameless previously, because our family of educators earned little, she married a nouveau riche, claiming it was for her mother's treatment. Now, with her husband bankrupt, she dares return with a child. Stella, my brother is soft-hearted and nostalgic, I observe he has yet to smile, likely compelled to marry her for the child's sake. The subsequent message, delayed over 2 hours, contained a video. Within it, Lily, clad in a pristine wedding gown, knelt before Ethan, sobbing breathlessly. I implore you, save Andy, those debt collectors, denied payment, will truly kill him. Did you not adore Andy most? He even called you daddy. For the sake of the child I carry yours, aid me, I beseech you. Ethan's expression initially softened, but upon her final words, veins bulged on his forehead, and he kicked her abdomen. Lily was propelled several meters, clutching her stomach and wailing, as red stains spread across the pure white satin. Guest screams erupted, with faint sounds of someone dialing 120. Ethan advanced toward Lily step by step, gnashing his teeth. I ask you once only, whose child is in your womb? Lily, racked with pain, could scarcely speak, forcing out, yours. At this, Ethan sneered coldly. I abhor betrayal above all, yet you have betrayed me repeatedly. Initially, you claimed your mother's grave illness necessitated our parting, but my inquiries revealed she perished at your birth. I empathized with your pursuit of wealth, convincing myself to honor your choice, thus maintaining contact over the years, fearing your mistreatment. But this time, how can I forgive you? Lily murmured in confusion, what have I done now? Ethan leaned to her ear, whispering softly. Instantly, Lily's eyes widened, and she shook her head frantically. Impossible. The child is yours, I swear. We can conduct a paternity test. As she spoke, Lily reached for her belly, only to find a handful of blood. Blood pooled beneath her. Frenzied, she scooped a puddle with both hands, cradling it as she screamed in despair, it truly is your flesh and blood, I did not deceive you. How can I prove it to you? Profound disgust welled in Ethan's eyes. Repeating lies so often, you believe them yourself. He extracted a bank card from his pocket, flinging it into the blood. This is my final aid, henceforth, we each fare well separately, with no need to meet again. The video abruptly ceased. Emily's subsequent message furrowed my brow. Ryan presented me with a bouquet of mingled yellow and blue flowers, inquiring nervously, was the interview unsatisfactory? Sunlight bathed the unfurled petals, briefly soothing my troubled mood. I shook my head, about to explain, when a familiar voice called from behind, Stella. Turning, I saw Ethan striding toward me, heedlessly dropping to one knee, proffering a dazzling ring identical to Lily's. Stella, let us begin anew. I now realize only you genuinely love me. I erred, I confess my fault, henceforth, I shall doubly cherish you, never failing you. I replied faintly, you seek reconciliation not from love for me, but because Lily wounded you, thus opting to settle with me. Yet why presume I would forgive you? The notion of spending my remaining years with you makes me wish for instant death. Thus, cease disturbing me. Moreover, I have a superior alternative. Rejected, Ethan knelt stubbornly, immobile. I took Ryan's hand and departed without looking back. His palm grew sweaty. I attempted to release it, but he clasped mine, grinning foolishly. This is your first initiative to hold me. Pathetic. The sunlight was ideal, with golden sunflowers and blue delphiniums symbolizing dreams and hope. I added earnestly, there will be many more instances. Upon Ethan's return, events shifted again. His initial diagnosis years ago was indeed azoospermia, though typically, confirmation requires a follow-up examination. Ethan's strong pride led to self-abandonment, foregoing the follow-up. This time, a physical examination revealed, sperm vitality is low but present, with a calm mindset, fatherhood is imminent. He finally grasped his actions. He had extinguished his own progeny. Lily, hemorrhaging severely from the kick, required prolonged recovery to walk again. Ethan, weeping bitterly, sought forgiveness, transferring all assets to Lily, who eventually consented to reunite and pursued IVF. At 3 months pregnant, she discovered the embryo was mine and Ethan's. Enraged, she induced a medical abortion, took her son, and vanished entirely. Before departing, she obtained hotel surveillance footage and publicized it. The school promptly disassociated from Ethan. Penniless and jobless, he secluded himself in his bedroom, drinking incessantly until cardiac complications landed him in the ICU. His misdeeds bore their own retribution.